And now the pod today in Philly is spitted to, I guess, pizza rolls. Because, hey, we've got a new Pope,
Yay!
Pope
Yeah.
Leo. Congratulations, Cardinal, now that you're
Congratulations.
Pope. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost is now Pope Leo the 14th. Um, and I don't know. He does not sound like he is to be trifled with. I'm just gonna put that out there right
Yeah,
now. That's
yeah.
that sounds that sounds like some new version of the Da Vinci Code shit right there, son.
You were saying
You
he's from
know,
Yeah.
Chicago?
it's
Yeah.
Chicago.
I
Dude
think he's the
from
first. He's the first
and first
pope from
American,
The
Chicago.
first
First
American.
first
American Pope.
First
American,
American.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know
and
yeah.
that.
yeah, deep, deep. I
Man.
mean,
We have
I'm
to find out
relieved
what the
what
no, I
the
was gonna say you have to find out what the other because they choose their name based on the doctrine that they're going to follow. So whatever Leo 13th, the ones that preceded him, we have to
Hmm.
look
Yeah.
and see what they stood for, and that's what he's following.
mm.
Yes.
So that's
Supposedly there's
how
a
they,
saint. There's a Saint Leo. That's what I
yeah.
saw. Yeah.
So I haven't looked it up to see exactly what they've done, but I know that he is no fan of our current administration. So that,
That part.
Yeah, and I think they were hoping for an old school anti-LGBTQ,
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
pro colonialism or whatever passes for it these days, if it comes from the Vatican and whatever. Uh yeah, they were banking on that.
and they
And
got Leo.
And
and they
they
got
got
and they got Leo. We got hey
Leo.
Leo, how you doing?
Yeah. If they
I
if
love
if he
this
Listen.
does,
guy. Yeah, I want to see him. Yeah.
I can't help but
Um,
feel that he gonna visit the White House and he will say to JD Vance, "I've come to avenge Francis." Where is JD Vance?
Why do I
Where's
have
JD
this
Vance?
crazy feeling somebody's going to do a meme of of Pope Leo showing up,
Yo,
and it's gonna be like the meme of The Exorcist with him standing
right, right.
outside the White House with that white light coming down.
That would be cool.
that
I've
would
already
be
Dude,
seen
that
stuff online
that'd be
about
great.
like he was chosen before Shador Sanders was chosen.
Wow.
He was
Wow.
chosen in round two.
Wow. He's chosen around too.
oh
Wow.
Ouch.
oh
CNN,
yeah.
gonna, Saturday Night Live gonna do a skit with Pope Leo busting through the door with a Tommy gun, shooting up the White House.
Oh my gosh.
For
Oh,
Francis, for Francis.
Well, Francis.
I mean, you
Okay,
know what's
okay.
crazy though? When you think about it, and I mean, you kind of have to go into this mindset.
Mm,
We have an first American Pope,
Mhm.
hmm
Yep.
head of the largest Catholic um religion.
hmm
Now, what does that say to? I'm very curious to see what the American Catholics do now, because they have
Oh.
fallen all over themselves. Well, no, I shouldn't say the Catholics, the Christians. I use that term loosely because
Yeah,
most of the
not
people are not Christian.
yeah.
But anybody who identifies with Catholicism and are
Mm.
Right.
running behind the Tangerine Tyrant,
hmm
um, what is that going like? That's your
I don't
guy,
know.
man.
Yeah.
Right, right.
You gotta listen to him. So if he's telling you certain things that, you know,
Well, I
you
wonder.
need to look in the mirror.
I can't help but imagine that El Salvador is a predominantly Catholic country,
Ooh.
and him
Mm.
probably, have. I imagine he's going to say something about the illegal deportations that's happening in their country
Hmm.
and this deal that the president has. Like what kind of leverage, I guess, or power he'd be able to influence, better yet, influence he'd be able to wield with the president of El Salvador
Mm.
about his dealings with Trump and this prisoner deportation situation, a prisoner exile that he has going on. Because
Mhm.
a lot of those Latin countries are Catholic to the
Yeah,
bone.
they're very Catholic. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah. Like,
true.
I yeah, I would. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if South America is actually probably the largest contingency of Catholics alone, just
Mm.
Catholics,
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
right?
I
I'm
mean,
like,
it's
they still, there should be
interesting
Latin.
because, I mean, we got so-called Christians here that are basically
Hmm.
ignoring certain tenets of the Bible.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
Protestants,
Welcoming the
they're Protestants.
stranger being,
Yeah,
well, yes,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. No,
yeah. They're Protestants. Yeah,
but
yeah.
still consider them like, obviously these people haven't actually read the Bible.
The Bible.
Um,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have, basically fallen in line with an ideology that actually contradicts what they're calling themselves.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Um, but to your point, Kirk, I struggle with I struggle with two things. I struggle with the fact that even though you may have a Catholic nation,
Yeah.
but if your leader is on the
Hmm.
same bullshit as the one we have,
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
what ends up happening, what may end up happening is, it's like just like our fake racist anti-LGBTQ and anything that doesn't exactly mirror their fucked up ideology,
Yeah.
anything, if they can do the whole, you know, I don't really care what's happening in the Bible. I just know I'm the one that should be held in front of society. I
Yeah.
mean, I would imagine that it's possible to have Catholics do the same,
Mhm.
especially if they have a leader that, because I saw this guy, this El Salvador, I don't remember his name. He had a very, like, I almost want to say not necessarily the name of somebody you would imagine to be running El Salvador. That kind of took me by surprise. But I feel like that
Mhm.
guy, just the fact that you're
Yeah.
sitting in the room with Trump yucking it up
Right.
means you're on some other shit. And I
Mhm.
get it. You may want some guns. You may want this. You may want some sort of military this. And of course, Trump being the person that he is, probably, as long as you kissing his ass, you can have anything, you know. But I'm just I'm I'm hopeful, especially if this guy is supposed to be, if the title of Pope has the same weight and reverence that we
Right.
think comes with it,
Hmm.
then
Mhm.
Right.
then yeah, sure, that would be great. That would be awesome
Yeah.
if he could like suddenly say, "Hey, here's the Bible. I don't know if the rest of you read it, but I have." And what that, as Mark would say, as he's imitating Morgan Freeman, what that motherfucker is doing over there,
Mhm.
um, does not jive with what's actually in this book.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Period. The end. Good night. But then, the other flip side of that, is the Bible was used to justify slavery
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's,
genocide.
and
Yeah.
genocide. Yes,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So it's you know, I'm happy that they didn't go with one of these old school, um, you know, die hard, hard line, no to, all these different communities and people of color and, like we don't care about you unless you do what we say kind of thing and worship
Right.
how we worship. I'm glad that they picked a guy that at least seems like on the side of common sense or at
Mhm.
least empathy and just being a normal cat.
Yeah.
Um
An actual human being.
an actual human being. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. Um
Yeah.
I'm glad that that happened. Um, I hope it plays out the way Kirk kind of put it out. you know.
Yeah.
But
Let's see what happens. Yeah.
who's to say? But
Yeah.
who's to say?
Right.
Because
Well,
we're in a weird place.
Well,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
I
Well, go ahead, Denise.
I saw an article that said, like, in regards to El Salvador, that they're now going to start requesting proof of criminal activity. So the people that they're trying to deport and send, now these other countries are now like, no, we actually need proof of your due process. You can't just send people anymore. So I think we're starting to see the tide turn. So having this new pope, it's kind of like a new beginning. Like, I think I'm hopeful. I think we're
Well,
starting to see more good things slowly,
Wow.
but
Mm.
well,
yeah.
so the thing that
There's
the
El Salvador and the Congo. I
No,
can't.
Rwanda.
Rwanda.
Mhm.
That's where
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
want to send them next.
Like now they want proof.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't just
Yeah.
be sending people in exchange for whatever you think you want to get. Yeah.
And
Right.
I
I
think
heard about that also. Yeah.
the other part of that, I think is that unlike the people that are currently running the clown show here,
Mm-hmm.
other people in other countries hopefully have the sense to understand that all of our economies are tied together,
Mm-hmm.
all of our business interests,
Mm-hmm.
what's the saying? High tide rises all boats, right?
All
Right.
boats. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
unfortunately, dumb racists that inhabit this country don't quite get that.
Yeah.
They're kind of on some, well, where's my Escalade and my big house? It's like, and then they, thanks to Fox News and all these other, entities, they have convinced themselves that black people are getting something that,
Yeah.
they aren't. Immigrants
Right.
are
That
getting
white women are
something
getting.
that,
Right.
right,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Immigrants are
Right.
getting
That's not
something,
how it works.
and that's not how it works, and that's not even what's happening, and even
Yeah.
it's not even reality.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
this is what they sit and they believe. And then on top of that, then they want to argue about, because I saw this thing with Mark Lamont Hill, um and he was on Pierce Morgan, and this
Mm.
white lady
Oh,
was talking about, um
yeah.
well, we should be able to say the N word whenever we want. Black people get to
Yeah.
say da 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 whenever they want. And Pierce Morgan actually was daring her to say it. And then
Right.
Mark
Yeah. Yeah.
Lamont
Yeah.
Hill, God bless
Oh,
him, Mark Lamont Hill went ape shit.
thank
Um,
goodness. Oof.
and it put the kibosh on it.
Yeah.
Um, and he did it like full blown rage out, basically.
Mm.
Um, I mean, he
Oh, I'd
didn't
like to see
swear or
that.
anything like that. Oh no, it's out. It's out. Matter of fact, I'll send it to you
Yeah.
when we're
Yeah.
done here.
Yeah, send it to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I seen that. I seen that.
I just
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah. And of course he's sitting there snickering and and whatever. It's like, lady, just jump off a cliff already. It's
Yeah.
like nobody who has a brain in their
Nobody.
head. Exactly.
Nobody.
As Keith Sweat would
Thank
say,
you.
nobody
Nobody.
who
Nobody.
who actually has sense thinks that, just because, and I'm sorry, just because you have Jasmine Crockett's out there that are defending us and do it in a colorful manner,
Hmm.
that does not
Hmm.
equate that does not equate you calling anybody the N-word. And outside of the fact that you want to be able to do it, but do it from a safe distance so you don't get your ass handed to you, despite the fact you want the right to do all of that, it's like, I just, the whole lack of everything, just empathy, a sense, just a understanding of the history of the country, which of course people like that are trying to stamp out anyway. Um, you know, it's just galling, and the fact that Mark Lamont Hill actually stood up, you know, in the middle of all that. Oh, looks like we're
Hmm.
having some tech issues here. Uh, but yeah, just to say it. It's terrible what's going on in this country. We always thought we were gonna do better, and we're not.
Yeah.
And speaking of
Hopefully
not,
Eh,
soon.
and speaking of not doing better, another thing that racist people out there in the world are apparently really pissed off about is sinners.
Them sinners are
Ooh.
messed up around about sinners. Ain't that some shit?
Ain't that some shit?
I love that movie.
Really,
Yeah, yeah.
really crazy.
The sinners are coming after sinners.
Oh, my
Uh,
stars.
And
yeah.
it's the stuff that's being written. Well, first of all, I mean, black folks and the praise that they've deservedly heaped on this film just
Hmm.
for its artistry, the
Hmm.
symbolism, the Easter eggs, all the hidden messages and messaging that this
Hmm.
movie
Yeah.
gives. That's been great. So, the movie definitely, I mean, to say that it found its audience, it's like that's the understatement of all time. But
Hmm.
Right.
along
Right.
with that, but along with
Hmm.
that is just the it's like it's not making its money back. Like most movies, except for the malfeasance when it comes to what goes on in Hollywood studio bookkeeping,
Hmm.
Right.
which is a
Yep.
whole other
Speak on it.
thing, which is a
Hmm.
Speak
whole
on
other
it.
thing because I
Hmm.
read somewhere that apparently Return of the Jedi is considered a box office flop.
What?
Yeah.
It
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Considered a yeah, it's on the books as having lost money.
Yeah.
I don't
And I don't
like
know.
understand how that's possible.
I never
Somebody would have
understood
to explain that to me.
I don't understand that.
like it's kind of like I guess you kind of like motherfuckers forgetting that it's a horror movie. It ain't a rom-com
Right.
with Ben Stiller and the rest of them. God bless Ben Stiller, by the way. Thank you very Stiller for calling
Yes, Ben
motherfuckers out
Stiller.
on Variety. But it's not a
Oh,
rom-com.
yeah.
It's not a Oscar-driven drama. This is a horror movie,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And this is not a thing that happens a lot or if at all that it brooks the box office like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it did the numbers that it did.
Yeah.
So so kudos, man. Kudos to
Hmm.
Coogler doing it again.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing, I mean, forget the movie itself and oh, the movie's racist, oh, the movie's this, oh, the movie's that. Um, Along with that, and along with the skepticism of oh, it's not making this, oh, it's not making this money, oh, it's not making that money, and along with all that, then and you gotta love this. Then everybody's hating on the deal that Ryan Coogler apparently got.
Right. Right. Wait,
Oh,
who they give the deal to earlier, like a couple of years back? They said it was a Quentin Tarantino that got that same deal. You
I
Yes.
think
remember,
so.
Mark?
I think it was Quentin
Right?
Tarantino.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what? That deal is probably, you know what the thing is? Because you gotta walk on eggshells with some of this stuff. This is probably a standard deal they've given a whole lot of people. It's just that he's probably one of a very few brothers that ever gotten a
Hmm.
deal like
He's
this,
probably the only
Right.
one.
That part.
Probably
which
only
is
one.
why
That
it's
part.
come forward.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I'm sure that this is because the deal itself doesn't sound like it's something that's I and here's the thing. I go back to when Vin Diesel wanted to make another Riddick movie,
Hmm.
and
Right.
Universal refused to give him the rights. I don't know if a
Hmm.
lot of people even remember this story,
Right.
but he
Hmm.
wanted the movie, he wanted to make one, and Chronicles of Riddick, they said, was a box office bomb
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm.
yet
Mm-hmm.
again,
Mm-hmm.
um, and has since become a cult classic.
Hmm.
Yes.
Um, and at the time he wanted it, and Universal refused to give him the thing. So what happens is fans of Fast and Furious
Hmm.
are like, "What's up with Vin Diesel? When's he coming back?"
Mm.
We like part two. but we want our Vin Diesel back.
Hmm.
So they go to him and they're like, we'd really like you to make a cameo in Tokyo Drift. He goes, okay, give me Riddick.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah,
And they're like, what? And he's like, hey, you need me more than you need that you need Riddick.
yeah.
Give me
Hmm.
Right.
Riddick and I will come in. He did what? Not even a minute of a
Right.
cameo at the end of the
At
At the
the
movie
very
and
end.
got
Yeah,
end.
and
Yes.
at the end.
and nobody ever seemed to talk about how that brother pulled that stunt off because they were determined never to give him Riddick back. But they were
Riddick.
like,
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
well, you know what? He's more valuable to us on
Mm-hmm.
screen. And I
Hmm.
mean, I'm glad he and his people negotiated the deal that they did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Because that
I can't
is
help but.
at
Oh.
go ahead, Kurt.
No, no, no. I said I was saying that I got an idea in my head, like that we all know the backdoor dealings that go on,
Oh
and I
yeah.
can't help but feel that Steven Spielberg, because he was in Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg might have called in a favor or something on that on his behalf.
You know
You
what?
know,
Hmm.
Hey,
Mm.
who's to say somebody didn't call in from Marvel on his behalf?
I'm just saying,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
Ah.
because
my
he
thing,
got a lot of goodwill. He got a lot of goodwill.
it's again,
Hmm.
a lot of these deals, it is very much who you know, not what you know. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
um,
That
True
part,
story.
I
that part.
and in all fairness, and I mentioned this to Steven, and I already know that at some point somebody gonna hit me upside of the head with a can of nickels when they see me
Uh-oh.
for saying this. But
Uh-oh.
Ryan Coogler has never actually produced anything original.
Mm.
Oh, that's probably
Everything
gonna
that
be me hitting you on
he
the
This is
side
the
of the head.
first
no
thing.
no 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 Creed was not his.
Right.
That was based off of
Right.
Rocky.
Right.
Yep.
Black Panther was
Black
not his.
Panther.
That belongs
Yeah.
to Marvel.
Right.
Fruitville
Yep.
Station was an actual true story that
Incident
wasn't something that
was
he
it?
came up with.
Right.
Right.
So, based on his success with other international properties, I don't
Mm.
see why Warner Brothers wasn't like, if this is the deal you want to make, we'll do a little sweetheart here. We'll move a couple of things around. I don't see a problem with that.
Mm.
Right.
If I don't think if this had been Ryan Coogler, Fruitville Station, hey, I got a vampire script, they'd have been
Right.
like, hey,
They wouldn't have done that. Right.
No.
They
No.
wouldn't
no,
have. No.
Right.
I
No.
don't
No.
think they would have given it. So I think a lot of his success in other because apparently now I hear he wants to revamp the X-Files. And
Yeah.
Yes.
I did hear
Yes, he
that.
Yeah.
does. Yes, he
I'm
He
like,
does.
does.
bruh, like, I mean, I roll my eyes not because I don't believe that. I think he's extremely talented. He's
Mm.
got
I'm going for my
he's
nickels.
got, but I'm like, dude, like, come up with your own stuff at this point. It's like really, maybe you and Jordan Peele need to have a conversation and start doing stuff through his production company if you're not fully vested in doing because I mean the X-Files belongs to Chris Carter. Like
Yeah.
do something I want to see him I want to see more of this from him rather than every so often jump on the bandwagon do a you know what
Yeah.
do the Reby Jackson. Maybe Denise may not
Jackson.
understand what my point is, but remember, everybody knows Reby Jackson. No, they don't.
Ah.
Reby Jackson, the oldest sister of the Jacksons, needed
The
some
sugar
money.
free, that one.
She came out and did the centipede
Sugar
and
free.
disappeared,
Centipede.
went
Centipede.
Was it
right
Sugar
and
free.
centipede or was it
fall
sugar
right
free? Which
back
one?
under the rock she came out
Right.
of.
Right.
Centipede,
I'm kidding. I'm
Denise.
totally kidding. I'm totally
Wow.
kidding. I'm totally
Wow.
kidding. I'm
I
Right?
like Centipede.
But Kirk, what was the last centipede came out? She did
Mhm.
her thing, and we ain't
Yep.
never seen BB Jackson again.
Nope.
Reby was like, you know what? I need some quick cash. All my brothers and my sisters are riding high on a wave right now. I'm gonna just
right.
pop out here, do this
Right.
real
I
quick,
heard
and then
I heard through the Houston grapevine that Beyonce, when she was 15, she took out Reby. Look at you.
What?
I'm not
You're not
entertaining
catching on.
this.
This is not.
Yeah.
This is not. Oh, you didn't hear about the thing her Mary?
No.
This is one thing we can't. That song, Mary. You know,
Amory.
Amory. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
that's
was
how you say
there's
it.
talk that he was supposed to be the next, and Beyonce sabotaged her shit, some shit like that.
Man.
Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him.
I'm about to pack you up, Kurt.
Pack up the
I got your,
napkins.
I got your nickels, bro. I got your nickels, bro.
That was a that was a low one inside there, Kirk. Like, wow.
Yeah.
I was
No,
So I read an article
absolutely.
online though that like that's part of this, the method to his madness. That he's doing the stair steps intentionally. That you
Mhm.
start at the ground and you start making your way up. So I think everything he did, just like in the movie, everything was absolutely intentional.
Mhm.
Yeah, and until he
okay.
has something else original, then why not hop on the X Files and do it right the way it's supposed to be? He's even been talking to Ann Jillian and all that. So I think it's
I heard,
coming.
yeah.
Yeah.
And wait,
Oh,
Gillian
she
Anderson.
means
Oh
Jillian
my
Anderson.
God.
Gillian
Gillian
Hello.
Anderson.
Anderson.
I
Yeah,
did not have
Gillian
enough coffee
Anderson.
today. Gillian Anderson. Jeepers,
Um,
creepers. I have
you
no.
know, I
That's another
wanted,
movie off it.
yeah,
Jeepers
exactly.
creepers.
You know what?
Mm.
He'd probably do that very well too. I'm gonna,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but I'm gonna
Yeah.
circle back to the deal situation for a second, only because Mark
Okay.
brought up the good point about goodwill. I'm just gonna bring up the deal. The situation of money. Like, all right, let's get off Ryan Coogler for a second and talk about
Mm.
Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan has made Hollywood a lot of goddamn money. And
Yeah.
he did it with these, he starts off with these Batman movies, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Ton of money. Ton of money. Even though Dark Knight Rises, it's all right. I mean, okay, so quick side note, Dark Knight Rises would have been a bomb ass movie had Heath Ledger still been around.
Oh man.
Because if you go to source
Yeah.
material, it's a whole other
Mhm.
story. It's a
Yeah.
whole other story. So now you got Joker and Bane. Oh, it's a whole other thing.
Man.
And I
That's
wouldn't have
true.
exactly gone with this particular voice for Bane. That's another thing. Um, but all right. He makes Hollywood all this money. Now
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
about this for a second. Then one of the next things, I don't know if it's the exact next thing, but one of the next things he comes up with is Inception, which I'm assuming
Yeah.
all three of you have seen.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Inception. Here's my question about that. How the fuck do you pitch that? How do you go in somebody's office and explain concisely what you're trying to do with that movie?
Mm.
This goes back to what Mark said. It's
Yeah.
goodwill. Now he has goodwill,
Goodwill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
but
he makes all
it's
that
not just
money.
goodwill. You make motherfuckers money.
Good money.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
if you make
Yeah.
motherfuckers money, they give you money to play with.
Yeah.
Like,
So he pitches it like Rick James.
because I
I'm
mean,
Christopher Nolan, bitch.
it
I'm Christopher
maybe,
Nolan, bitch. Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because seriously, on like
Yeah.
there's so much
Mhm.
happening in Inception. And I loved Inception, but
Oh
there's
yeah, that's
so much
great.
Right.
happening. It started to make me tired. Like
You know what?
physically tired.
I
Dun,
know how you
Yeah.
pitch it.
Right.
I know.
dun.
I'd
I'm
love to
going to
hear
tell you.
this.
I know how he. I can imagine how he pitched it, which
Yeah.
is what because what I'm going to say after that is what's going to piss everybody else off.
Oh
Uh-oh.
shit.
He went in there. No, I'll tell you. I will tell you why. I will tell you why. He
Okay.
went in
All right.
there and he
Right.
said,
Yeah.
"This is a cross between the Matrix and Dreamscape."
I
You
remember
get
Dreamscape.
somebody
Yes.
old enough
Yeah.
to remember the two.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking DiCaprio for the lead.
That part.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that part. Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
here's where I go to piss everybody off.
Okay.
Sinners, it's a cross between From Dusk Till Dawn
Hmm.
and give me a really good, you got to give me a really good African American. Oh, From Dusk Till Dawn and Lovecraft Country.
Yes. I was thinking that actually. I
And
I
we
thought about
have
that
Hmm.
earlier. Yeah.
and I have Michael B.
Yeah.
Jordan in mind.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
Hmm.
and the reason why I say that, Kirk, is because apparently there's been a whole big thing of black folks getting mad because somebody said that the movie reminds them from Dusk Till Dawn, and they're like,
Oh.
"Oh,
Oh
it's
no.
not Dusk Till
Oh.
Dawn." And I'm like,
I saw that guy. No, I saw that guy. He
That
did.
and
Latino
I'm
He did.
guy?
like,
Yeah.
and I'm
He
like,
Kirk
actually.
said I saw that guy.
he actually attacked Michael B. Jordan for A, not putting any
Yeah.
Latinos in in the movie, and B, for
Yeah.
stealing Dusk Till
Which
Dawn
which
from
Which is not
stealing the
true
cast, yeah,
because he
which
let's
is
actually
be
talked to
egregious
clear.
Richard
already. Which
Rodriguez.
was egregious already.
Yeah,
Which let's begin with this. Almost
Robert Rodriguez.
every movie we see has borrowed from some other movie somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But he
And
actually
it's
he sat down and talked to Robert Rodriguez. Like they had a
I know,
yeah,
but and I
yeah,
and apparently,
and a lot of
but I
other
don't
ones
think
too.
everybody else knew that either because in trying to defend the suggestion that that movie had something to do,
Mm,
people were like, stop comparing it. It's not the same movie and this that. But I mean, it's
right,
not. A lot of the same elements are there.
right.
yeah,
The brothers on the run, you know,
yeah.
Oh
going
no,
into
that's
There was some other movie that people said
no,
is
no.
a lot closer to that I haven't
Brothers were
seen.
not on the run.
yeah, they were.
Brothers were not on the run. No, they weren't.
Were they?
They
I
weren't.
think they
No, no.
were.
They
They returned to their home. They weren't on the run
well,
per se. It's still a different when you say there's two
what were
brothers.
they?
The only thing that has connection to it is two brothers in a closed space against vampires.
They were on the run from the mob. She
He
said
never
it.
said that. He
Yes, she
said it.
did.
But he has all their
No,
booze.
she said,
She asked.
she
It's
insinuated,
insinuated. Yeah.
she said, you must have, what kind of war did you start between them? And he changed the subject.
Yeah,
Right.
between
So,
the
Right.
Irish
so
mob and the
Irish and the Italian. So they did
yeah,
something
Italians.
up
Right.
there. So
yeah,
that's
They
what
did.
made
Right.
me feel
yeah.
like
They're kind of on borrowed
Right.
time. Yeah.
Right.
they
I
were
feel.
like
Yeah. It's like if you're on the
they
run from
weren't
the
gonna come
mob,
down. Well, yeah,
you don't start a business at your hometown.
I see what you're
not
saying.
unless they're not coming down
I
there to
see
get you.
because
If,
they
if
don't
Mm.
not,
know
if
yet.
they're
They
I
not
haven't caught up to it yet. Yeah. Yeah. The
right, then
intention isn't to run away,
it's
but
implied
yeah, there could be some
I
we
backlash.
stole from the mob and we got
And
away,
we got
and I'm gonna
away
start a
for
business.
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
People have done
It's
some
Keep
still.
the
crazy
head
things
on the
since then.
swivel kind of
I
thing.
still feel like the influence there is still this two brothers in a in a musical bar with vampires, and I feel because
Hmm.
Ryan Coogler did say he gave a lot of credit to Dusk Till Dawn and
Yeah.
other influences that he had when he was writing the movie,
Yeah.
but I feel like Torres overemphasized how much Dusk Till Dawn played in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
creation of
that's
that
true.
storyline. And
Yeah.
I think that was the big problem that he he overemphasized to an extent where he flat out said Ryan Coogler stole from Dusk Till Dawn.
Stole it. I don't believe he stole it
Yeah.
And the
I
fact
at
think
and
all.
the fact that he's considering it a Spanish movie and everybody's like, it's only Spanish because Robert Rodriguez shot it. A white guy wrote it,
right.
and it's pretty much all your heroes are white folks, and all your bad guys are Spanish.
But the interesting thing is
Mm.
In Dust Till Dawn, they're not vampires. That's
They're
not
not
what
They
those,
are
no, they're
in the
not.
end. I thought they were.
No, he later said that they were part of a different type of deity. That's why they look
right,
like snakes. They
right. They're
weren't
like a snake
vampires,
deity,
not
right?
in the
Hmm.
Not in the
conventional
traditional sense,
sense.
right? Right.
Here's what I'd like
It's
to know.
but it's like a fine line between zombies and 28 Days Later,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Here's what I'd like to know. And
Hmm.
Maybe Mr. Van Patten could shed some light on this.
Uh-oh.
Get your quarters ready.
I want I want to know
Uh-huh.
what kind of shit did you do to the Native Americans that as a vampire you had to fly while the sun was still up to try to get away?
Phew.
Because his entrance when he came down, I was like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
flying? And
That
Yeah.
was yeah. Yeah.
Flying. So yeah, let's talk. Yeah, sure. Let's talk about that because that was crazy. He's obvious, like the way envisioned that. And
Mhm.
this brought me to a different vampire movie, actually. This brought me to thinking about vampires, the James Wood and
Right.
Ah,
Mhm.
Fuck James Woods, of course, because he's another one of
Uh-huh.
these
that
conservative
guy.
MAGA dickhead people. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
the movie where basically they find a nest and they
Mhm.
drag the vampires out of the nest, kicking and screaming, and let them die in the sunlight.
Yep.
To me, that felt like those Native American cats, those indigenous folks.
Choctaw.
th-
Choctaw.
Thank
The
you.
Choctaw.
They probably found him somewhere, and and they were probably trying to do the sensible vampire hunter thing, whereas
Yeah.
don't wait until damn near sundown
Right.
to go
Hunt
looking
them.
for vampires.
Right.
um
Right.
and so they probably just just on the cusp, and
Mhm.
just enough for him to jump up it, get away from them, jump up in the air, and then catch a little too much light, and then
Yeah.
have to come down, and you know, thankfully for his sake, if he had ended up at a black person's house, that wouldn't have, like, you wouldn't have a movie at this point,
Right.
because
Nope.
Right.
they would have
Nope.
opened up the door with a shotgun. Who the hell are you?
Right.
Mhm.
Strange, smoldering Irish person. And
Right.
then the Choctaw vampire hunters would have showed up, and it's like, I'm really going to shoot you now. It's like, because first of all, you wouldn't have made it in the door, and then the
Right.
Choctaw, they would have showed up, and then that's, roll credits. You're done.
Yeah.
You
Right.
Yeah.
know.
Right.
Um, it's like that's kind of how I envision that.
Hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
to me, the prequel is
Ooh.
those guys.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Is the
I totally
Choctaw
agree.
vampire
That whole
hunters
story. Yeah.
Uh,
running, and probably, because our Irish friend is probably the last survivor of a nest, which is now why he's
yeah.
willing to start a new nest.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And
I can see that.
from whatever, and they kind of explain in the movie how he's hearing the music, and it's
Yeah.
and they used to, again, uh loaning from something else, Tomb of Dracula, the Marvel
Mhm.
version of Count
Mhm.
Dracula's,
Right.
whole thing. he
Hmm.
that particular Dracula used to talk about how, he wants to get out and corrupt, like sometimes he finds a person that's so innocent that he has to corrupt them.
Yeah.
So I think that bit of it, that music, that universal connection,
Hmm.
that draws our vampire friend out, because it's like, I have to corrupt it, which then, goes, into the number of hidden messages and not so hidden messages, of course, in this movie. One of them is clearly pointing at cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's basically, like, make believe he's not a vampire for a second. Make believe he's the president of RCA.
Tommy
Ooh.
Mottola.
Exactly. Imagine,
Right.
oh,
Maybe
wow,
he'll find her.
I hear
Right.
I
Maybe
hear
he
music.
will.
I hear music. And I need to now make that music mine.
Hmm.
Mine.
So
Hmm.
that's, to me, that's kind of like how that all kind of like played out.
Hmm.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I imagine, that whole bit of desperation. Um, and he got lucky. He ended up at a house with a Klansman,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they let him in because, they're
Yeah.
racist, and he played that off. And
Yeah.
Yep.
then, one becomes three, and then you got a mess on your hands.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then
I really,
Homegirl decides to go out there talking about, well, we got to go talk to these people because they got money and da 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 da. Which, again, if you look at it from, like, let's say that's like a, a recording artist situation. You know,
Hmm.
let's say you got some
Yeah.
hip hop
Yeah.
artists from back in the day trying to keep his shit real, trying to keep his shit about the message and the streets and this and that. And then he got some
Wait,
girl in
wait,
his ear talking about, hey, hey,
wait.
hey, these folks have money. You need to go talk to them.
Excuse me, real quick. A little off topic.
Mm.
So you think Shannon Sharp got the idea to do a podcast because of that girl he was
Oh
fucking with?
God.
Oh no.
That OnlyFans chick?
Hold my flower.
That's what.
Mm, mm, mm.
That's the question. Shannon Sharp seemed really happy at ESPN just talk about sports. When the podcast come up, that girl got an OnlyFans and she was like, Shannon, you can make a lot more money if you had your own show.
What is Mark doing?
Oh,
So
I'm not getting in this.
that's you know what? First of all, it's fucking hysterical. But I'm also gonna say that's one of those things we will never know
No,
because obviously
he got
he's
got.
he got hard.
Mm,
He's
mm,
never
mm.
going
Yeah.
to he's never going to own that.
Nope.
He's never going to own that. If that's what happened, I mean, first of all, they would have had to be together for a little bit.
They were. And she was
Like,
19. She's 21 now. She's
oh
21 now.
damn.
You were ready to go when they were 19.
I didn't realize
That's
it was a
three
whole
three
2 years.
years.
And first of all,
It was a 2 year too, yeah.
and the internet's already exhausted this with the whole like, dude, like you really should know better. Like he already
Yes.
had Monique on the show, and Monique was like, you know, DJ,
You need your old
you
bitch.
know,
You need yourself.
get yourself
Oh my
yeah, she
God.
sure did say that.
Yeah.
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 You need yourself an old bitch. Get yourself an
Yeah.
old bitch. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Yes.
I'm gonna change the subject.
But,
Oh
yeah,
my
go.
stars. Back to Sinners. Jeepers
Yes,
Smoke got
yes.
himself
creepers.
an old woman.
So one thing that I really, really appreciated is how much they paid attention to detail, Kurt.
They
If
did.
you
Yes.
watch the credits, they actually have like cultural specialists. So they talked
They
to,
did.
people for the Irish stuff and for the Choctaw. I mean, like tons and tons of stuff. Even like with
Yeah.
the hoodoo, which was a little bit off. But
Yes, you would
it
be the
Right.
one
challenged.
that you would be the one to
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like some of the stuff with the
Okay.
hoodoo, which is great, but then some of it was actually go like ichi. Like they were mixing and matching. But that's okay because it
Okay.
wasn't that wasn't like a main point of the story. But
Mm-hmm.
what I appreciated, like as a writer, so much detail for every single character. There's stuff that I need to see the movie again because I didn't notice. Someone else had brought up that like when you're on the street, there's a black side of the street and a white side of the
On the
street.
white side
I
of the
didn't even
street.
Mm.
notice
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
just it
And the
challenges me
Asian
to
family had store on both
you
sides.
had two stores, one on each
Mm.
side. Yeah. So
Yep.
it challenges
Mm-hmm.
me as a writer to like I thought that I already put a lot of detail into my characters, but now I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious like what would people pick up on? So I'm going to throw a lot more detail in the next couple of
Mm.
things that I put out because
Right.
I was just so inspired that yeah, it's a vampire movie, but like Smoke, he always wears one color, and Stack always one. Like they never mixed and matched. Like you
Mm-hmm.
always knew exactly who they were.
True
And
and
just I
sure.
loved it so much. I love this movie. I got to see it again. Yeah.
I really
Oh,
feel
absolutely.
like they needed, and I'm being a little stickler about this. I needed to know the connection between this boy and his father.
Like
Mm.
why his dad was
And
beating him.
well, because here's the thing.
Are you talking about the guitar player?
Yes,
Sam.
Yes,
Okay,
Sammy and Saul.
Sammy and
Sam, because
Saul
here's the
Williams is
thing.
his father.
Here's the thing. Okay, this is a typical trope about the child who always wants to pursue his dream and the parent that's sort of like, I really
Mm-hmm.
want you to walk in my footsteps or something. But
yeah,
what's
Yep.
very crucial here is that guitar belonged to his brother.
Mm.
Yep.
He recognizes that guitar. He
yeah,
recognized that guitar as being a problem because when he comes
yeah.
back to the church, he's like, "Give me the guitar. You got to put that
He's
down.
like put it
It's
down.
Mm-hmm.
linked. It's inherently linked to something." And I would
Hmm.
have loved for them to touch on that that dynamic because I feel if he's going to be the protagonist of the story, because
Yeah.
Smoke and Stack are not the protagonists of the story. They're the
Right.
ones kind of they're there.
Hmm.
And you know anything about, we all black, when your cousins come to town, that's the time of your life.
Mm,
Yeah.
Oh,
mm,
your cousins come to the house and you got your parents like that. Now look, don't be out there acting a fool like your cousin.
Hmm.
Oh, mama,
Hmm.
and then they come into the house. Hey, mama, so and so. Hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
don't you be
Yeah.
out here corrupting my child. Oh, we ain't going out there. You know we're going to
Hmm.
club tonight, right? So it's. I would have loved to see how that plays out
Mm.
for him as being this musician because
mm.
um it's they see it in him. There's
Yeah.
Right.
that we see it, and that's why we're gonna let you come and play. But before we let you do, which I thought Delroy Lindo did an exceptional job.
Oh
That was
man.
that's
Sure.
best
That
supporting actor
Woo-wee.
Oscar right there.
That's a
that
real
hey,
vampire.
Yeah.
his
And then there's
his
that.
my favorite was at the train station when he's like, "Let me show you what I can do, boy. Don't you play that guitar? This is my spot right here.
Yeah.
Right,
You over here trying to take
right.
my
Hmm.
money."
Take my
Yeah.
money. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that
And there's
monologue.
the monologue
Oh
was,
yeah.
but
Woo.
here's the thing that
That
I have to
monologue.
say this.
Hmm.
I don't consider the vampires the scary part of the story.
Nah.
I think the
The white
clan
folks.
is the scariest part of that story.
100%.
Mm.
And I
Because it
told
was real.
and I said to Steven,
Yeah.
you know what a really and see this is just me because it ain't my shit and Ryan had his but there's a part of me that wishes like right before that initial attack, right when when the Irish has got them guys and they're standing outside the barn, either the Irish or the Italian mob rolled up
Oh,
Okay.
out of Chicago and rolled up and they turned around and was like, "Who the hell are you?" And they're
Yeah.
like,
Oh, you mean at the
"We can."
end? The standoff at the
No,
end?
no, not at
No, no.
yet. No,
At
no,
night. At
no.
night.
That night
At night.
Oh.
when they all started gathering outside, right
Yeah.
before
Mm.
the Asian lady did what everybody hates her for doing.
But
Um,
someone needed to do it. Yeah.
yeah, somebody had
Right.
to,
Which
and
I totally get. Yeah. Which I
Yeah.
totally
yeah,
understand why she did it
That's a
actually.
whole other thing too.
because that to me, or even while the fight was going on,
hmm.
to have them drive up after cheat like tracking them down and then getting out
Yeah.
the car and then it's sort of like what the hell is this and
Mm.
then and even more so the Irish because of the Irish vampire
Hmm.
Yeah.
and that's just straight wishing that's not something that
Oh.
needed to happen it didn't that's not
Mm.
that would have just been I think and then to add insult to injury have the clan show up after that at near the end
Right.
and it's like god damn man really how many people y'all piss
Right.
off in this movie
Right,
um
right.
Right.
but
Just
what's
another
Smokes
level. Yeah.
PTSD would have Smokes PTSD would have
Right.
kicked in at that point.
Yeah.
Stack ain't
but
there to keep him whole. Yeah, he would have
but
kicked
Right.
in.
I do want to say this to Denise because
Mm.
I do and I don't know how you felt about it you have a voodoo woman.
Yeah.
Vampires? You couldn't come up
Yeah.
like to me, I think introducing a character like that with that type of power, I
Mm.
kind of felt like they could have come up with something a little
Well,
different than vampires.
that's what they kept mixing and matching because she kept saying, "Well, it's not a haint. It's not. I know it's not a haint," and she kept bringing
Hmm.
that
Right.
up. So, and she knew it was something evil, and then like, oh, it's vampires. So that's where like they probably should have done more research about that. Like vampires, Mississippi, New Orleans, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Hmm.
Mississippi,
Right.
kind of questionable. I do like that it's vampires. I like it a lot.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, but they were
Hoodoo.
mixing and matching. Yeah, because she
Yeah.
kept saying
Yeah.
haints, like haints are more like spirits, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
ghosts. So there's not gonna be blood and stuff involved. Yeah.
I I got yeah, I actually like that because it's how it's the mashup.
Yeah,
It's pitting two particular elements, tropes that are never ever seen or even touched
that's
on.
true. Yeah,
The because you now you're introducing this new supernatural entity to a,
yeah,
a community that doesn't
yeah.
know what it is. So you
Mhm.
don't know what. So you got to start first with the
Mhm.
familiar.
Yeah,
You know about Haints. You know about
yeah,
demons. What the fuck is this though? You know what I
yeah,
mean? If it's like a
yeah.
werewolf, it's like having a werewolf in Lagos, Nigeria. Them dudes,
Mm.
that
Yeah,
country ain't know nothing about wolves.
Mhm.
So
right.
they right, so they would identify it as something else that is familiar to them until they realize
Hmm.
what the differences
Until it
are.
isn't.
Right. Realize, you
Right.
know what I mean? I
Yeah,
actually enjoyed that discovery part, I think, of
yeah,
understanding
that's
what it
cool.
is. Um, through
Yeah,
yeah.
I did like the throwback too to the thing when they're all sitting there and they're like, eat eat the garlic, and
Right.
looking at each person like, you got to eat the garlic, you got to eat the
Right.
Mhm.
garlic. It was like kind of like that standoff. Yeah,
Yes.
I really like that
Yes. And
a lot.
Perlene
Like, what is
playing
this?
herself.
And
And
yeah,
not to jump on the whole oh he got this from that and he got that from this, but I'll remind you all of a movie from way back, werewolf movie, The Beast Must Die.
Just die.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the
With the
bullet,
silver
And
bullet.
people in him.
in
Yeah.
that movie, once they realize they're dealing with werewolves, because there's always
mm,
the that's what's fucking killing us. Okay, bet.
hmm,
So once they all do that, they literally sit there and they do it twice. They do a
Yes.
silver candlestick and everybody holds the candlestick, but
mm,
then the werewolf had some little trick up his sleeve, so you know that goes away.
hmm,
But then everybody had to put a silver bullet in their mouth,
hmm.
Mhm.
and then that's when shit goes
Right.
fucking haywire. Um, you know,
Yeah.
I love that callback
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
when shit's getting serious like that, I love that, you know, instead of putting us in a situation that it's like, well, I wouldn't have done that. Well, you know, why would they do that? Well, you know, which when you start watching the movie and it takes you out of your head because you're wondering why, it's like I love it when protagonists actually do smart things,
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, and that's
Yeah.
what that was. That's totally what
yeah,
that was. Here, put this garlic in your mouth so we know you good.
yeah, yeah.
Put it in your mouth. In your
Okay.
motherfucking
Here we go. Here we
mouth.
go.
Sorry.
There we
What, man?
go.
Um,
I was like,
there is also, and I always say you got to be careful when you do this too. The
Mm,
so this whole thing about the invitation of the vampire
I love that.
yeah.
mm,
has to be the problem I have with it is that there needs to be a clear definition of how that works. Because from what I understand from lore,
mm,
once once one gets in, it
mm,
shouldn't be difficult for the rest of them. And the reason why I bring that up is because what's his name's girl
Mary.
was
Mary got it.
he brought her in,
Hmm.
Yeah.
which is why she bit him. So that
Hmm.
should have been enough for the rest of them to come through the door. And
Right.
it kind of got a little wish-wash because even then she says at one point, you don't have to kill the head vampire to kill the
That
rest of
part.
them.
That part.
But but when they're fighting in the river and he hits him with the silver part of the guitar,
mm,
Hmm.
all the entire nest feels that. And
Right.
Yeah.
they start to react to it. So there's always this, and this isn't the first time that has been sort of like the kind of confusing bit because this has happened in several vampire movies where they say, the vampire must be invited in. First, sometimes
Hmm.
they'll say, well, the owner of the house needs to be invited in. But that's
Right.
not the case with the Lost Boys because the head vampire that's invited in was invited in by the grandson. He's not
Yeah.
the owner of the home. So that's how, and then once the head got in, he was able to send his boys in there after that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really strange kind of that invitation type of
Mhm.
thing that they do because it always seems to shift and change
Yeah.
depending on the story and who
Yeah.
you invite in. Because
And who we can invite
once,
in.
once you invite, you know,
Right.
I mean, once Homegirl was like, come in, everybody in the theater like, oh,
Here we go.
here
Yeah.
Or
we go.
or just so we're wondering maybe, or the type of vampiric entity it is.
Yeah,
And you
that
have,
too.
Yeah.
right, because I mean he's not an Eastern European vampire.
Right.
Um, there was actually something on YouTube about, I'm, we're all writers with fantasies and imaginations and stuff. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like somebody else, came around and talked about Irish legend about vampiric beings like that.
Mm.
Hmm.
And I was wondering, it's like, oh, so you're not a Transylvania transplant or anything like that.
Mhm.
Right.
You're something
Right.
else. You might be something else. Like I still remember the idea of the Draugr, which is a Scandinavian zombie-like creature.
Hmm.
Mm.
It's not exactly a zombie, but they have their
Hmm.
culture has their own idea of the undead and things of that nature. So,
Yeah, pretty much everyone
and
does.
Remick,
Yeah.
right, and Remick having this backstory that I like to think is actually makes him older than what you think he is. When
Right.
he
Yeah. I
talks
read
about
something that he's like way older. Yeah.
he's way older. When he talks about the Catholics coming in and take his land,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that ain't no recent shit. That ain't no 1800s,
No.
1700s
Mm.
potato famine shit. That's
No.
that's
It
seventh
was like,
century, eighth
yeah.
century shit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like
That's
way,
some
way back.
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
Yeah.
way,
And
way
maybe it
back.
depends on how long you've been a vampire. So like when you have oh my God, what's his name?
Right.
The one that went out to go to the bathroom and he wanted to come back
Cornbread.
in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cornbread. So Cornbread was
Cornbread.
just turned, so he's not going to have maybe nearly as much vampire strength as like Remick would. Like, no, you can't come in,
Hmm.
Cornbread.
Right.
But when he says, "Hey," or when the Asian lady's like, "Come on in," well, Remick's going to hear that. Then they're all going to follow because he has like all the vampire stuff. Versus you're newly turned, yeah, you're not going to get away with a lot in the beginning.
Right.
You got some stuff to learn.
Yeah. I
True.
I'm
mean, you
just,
could.
uh,
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
in all fairness, you could always teach night school, and learn a few things.
high
Um,
school.
you know,
Ah,
you can catch up on
Ah,
you can catch up on your reading.
oh my God.
and,
Unfucking believable guys, by the way.
You rendered him speechless for a moment. Steve was like,
I still love that trope. That's probably the greatest thing. I don't think I've laughed
That
that
is,
hard.
that is,
That's probably one
that
of the
is.
great. I mean, because and especially the way Steven said it. He was like, "Yeah, he was teaching night school." And it's
teaching high
like,
school.
what?
It's
so
clever.
it's very clever. And I want to say that it was used again in
Mhm.
the Michael Nouri. There was a short mini series with Michael Nouri, who you might remember from Flashdance.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was a short-lived series with him as Dracula,
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and he was also teaching
Yeah.
night school. But
Hmm.
what I find kind of interesting about the whole invite thing is there are some people who literally just kind of cling to the fact that one, um, that was just some shit that Bram Stoker came up with, and
Hmm.
two, um, that if you don't employ the you need an invite thing, your vampire movie
Hmm.
is again 15 minutes long because
Yeah.
the vampire a vampire that can just walk into your house unrestricted is just going to run through the rest of the cast.
Right.
All right, let's go to Arby's.
You can't, yeah,
Yes.
you can't
It's
make your vampire OP.
Can
right,
I can I add a
right.
You
segue?
can't get an OP.
May I add a
Yeah.
Please,
segue?
of course you
So
may.
speaking of invites, who is not invited to the Met Gala?
Yo,
The ultimate
yo,
vampire.
the
Oh,
exactly.
wow.
Ultimate.
Well,
Hey,
The
vampires hate that
ultimate.
nigga. Vampires even hate that nigga. He's taking
and
away. He's taking away a very important food
and
source.
this is this is where this is our state of affairs. This man is supposed to be a a figurehead. I mean, okay, he's supposed to be leading a country,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
he literally made a speech lamenting over not being invited to, or being uninvited, let's say, to the Met Gala. A long speech,
Wow.
as if
Right.
as if it were like Syria attacking somebody. Like, this is the kind of
Yeah.
shit. This is the kind of emotionally damaging and damaged shit that
damage.
and nothing is better than Anna Wintour's clapback.
Mm-hmm.
It was chef's kiss
Yeah.
of a clapback. It was amazing, and God bless her. I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked press stuff for Met Gala a couple of times, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's not my wheelhouse per se. I'm a horror sci-fi nerd.
Right.
And it is funny because a lot of those people, they show up at Met Gala dressed like visiting ambassadors on Star Trek Next Generation. If you know,
Right.
if you this is a lovely ship you'll have, Captain Picard. A lot of those outfits
Right.
on Met Gala, you know
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
worked
Yeah.
just fine
Right.
Yeah.
in that sort of visiting ambassador Star Trek space.
Right.
Um,
Wait. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, but and so all I'm gonna say is it's not something that I necessarily pay a lot of attention to, especially as a
Yeah.
guy that's
Right.
dressed in black 80% of the time. Um, but I have to tell you, it's like when Mike Pence went to Hamilton, and they
Oh.
stopped the show to chastise him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Mhm.
first of all, how fucking dare you?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how dare you be a sworn enemy to the
Yeah.
LGBTQ community, and then
Yeah.
basically go and sit your ass in their living room,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yep.
is Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Broadway. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's and it's not just,
The
it's like the
audacity.
theater community.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that everybody that works in theater is gay, obviously,
No.
but
No.
what
No.
I am,
No.
but it's their space.
Yeah.
It's their safe place.
Yeah.
More so, I mean, and for artists in general. And here he is.
Right.
Here's this guy. And I've always said, thank God Mike Pence never became president.
Ooh. Oh my God.
Right.
Because
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
because we would be fucking hiding our gay friends in our basements right now.
We still
Right.
might have to do that.
And we still
We
might
still
have
have
to,
to do that.
but
Have to do that.
especially if this fucking clown had made it. I mean, and it's just funny because, but I mean, thankfully, Mike Pence will never be president because, first of all, sensible folks like ourselves would never vote for him. And then the one time he did something right, the MAGA knuckleheads are pissed at him because
Yeah.
he didn't help Trump overthrow the fucking election.
Ugh.
So they're pissed at him. They hate him. They were going to hang him.
Yeah, they were.
Right.
Yeah.
And he thought he was going to be president.
Wah, wah.
That's now become very comical. I guess he can go talk to some Mormons in Utah or whatever the fuck he's going to do.
That nigga.
What's up, Mark?
No. I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so I'm surprised at this. I was like, I kind of curious now how much shit Trump would have got if he did go to the Met Gala during their theme of Black dandyism.
Yeah, it's like Black excellence and dandyism.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
it's very,
right.
very
And-
specific.
Here's the real
Yeah, what are you
mystery.
gonna do there?
Here's
Yeah.
the real mystery. What the fuck would you even wear?
Right.
Yeah.
If you are like, what the fuck would you even wear? The
Well,
man
some people
who
did
didn't
not get
have
that assignment right.
the
Oh,
Wait, do you
man
guys?
who didn't have the sense to wear a black suit at the Pope's funeral.
Do you remember? Wait, do you remember that
What are you wearing to
HBO
Met
thing on?
Gala?
Do you remember that? I think it was an HBO documentary or some documentary on pimps,
Yes.
pimps, hoes, pimp,
Pimps
and
up,
remember
hose
white
Yes,
folks.
down.
pimps up, hoes down.
Remember,
Yes,
remember white folks. The pimp called white folks.
I met that guy. I have met
Whoa.
Oh
that
shit!
guy.
You met white folks.
I did. I did.
Whoa.
It,
I did. It's a bizarre story. And I know we're over
Wow.
time, but since you brought it up,
Yes,
you guys want it?
Yes, if it's real quick.
what you
yes.
got?
It's not quick, but I'll give you the broad strokes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
basically, there was a time where I was occasionally invited to hang out in Joe Franklin's office.
Ooh.
Right. So there was it was actually the 100th birthday of Professor Irwin Corey
Ooh.
Right.
from
Car
Laughing.
wash.
From Car Wash. Yes,
Wow.
yes, yes.
Wow.
Those of you that don't know who I'm talking about, look them up. Um, so there was a group of us that were supposed to get together and then walk to the birthday party, which was being held in a synagogue.
Mhm.
I get to Joe Franklin's office. First of all, there's my friend Tim. He was the one that was inviting me. Um, and he basically looks like Bryan Cranston in full blown Breaking Bad character.
Oh
Mm.
gosh.
That's what he looks
Heisenberg.
like. He looks, yes, exactly. He looks like Heisenberg. Then I've got this other guy who looks like an out of shape Jeff Goldblum,
Oh.
Joe Franklin, and this other guy who introduces himself, you know, into the room as Donnie Diamonds, then feels it necessary
Honey
to
diamonds.
lean over to me and say, but you know, the brothers call me Mr. White Folks. And I'm like, uh, uh, because now Pimps Up, Hose Down is playing in my head.
Like,
And I'm like, sweet baby Jesus.
ooh.
I'm standing next to Mr. White Folks.
Oh my gosh.
And so what was wild was Joe Franklin ended up sending this bizarre, and you know, here I am looking like a black high school principal because
Right, right.
I've got on a
You're
blazer.
chaperoning.
Right. So Heisenberg, out of shape Jeff Goldblum.
Oh my
Oh no,
gosh.
and then there was a fifth guy, and he was dressed as the crocodile hunter.
Oh no.
His name was
That's not
also
a
Steve.
knife.
His name was also Steve, but he was dressed like in safari type clothes.
Wow.
I'm telling you, and this fucking happened. So Crocodile Hunter,
Oh
Heisenberg, me,
my gosh.
Donnie Diamonds, aka Mr. White Folks,
Naughty diamonds.
and out of shape Jeff Goldblum, and so Joe Franklin actually meant to send us. Actually, he decided to send us to a funeral first. So here I am at this funeral,
Okay.
and he was supposed to show, but that was a fake out. He Joe Franklin did not show up at that funeral. But
Oh
No,
gosh.
he sent us in
no.
his place. This
He sent you to
bizarre
fail.
menagerie of characters to this funeral.
Oh
And
my
so we get
gosh.
there. I don't know who the dead lady is, but suddenly I just kind of like go with what I think is I'm supposed to do, and I go do the kneel thing in front of the coffin.
Yeah.
And then later, my friend Tim, aka Heisenberg, he's like, "Why did you do that? Now we all have to do that." Now, so we all rotate from around. We all rotate from
Right,
in front
right,
of the
right.
coffin. We eventually leave. And then I also at the funeral I run into this Indian fella who swears he knows me.
Hmm.
It's just bizarre, just really bizarre. So now we that group now gravitates to the synagogue. We're in the
Hmm.
synagogue, and some woman comes up to me and says, don't I know you from the Friars Club? And somebody else leans over to me and says, she probably thinks you're Philip Michael Thomas. And
Oh,
right, Joe Franklin finally shows up.
God.
Somewhere there is a picture of me with Professor Irwin Corey, believe it or not.
Wow.
Um, I'll have to dig that out of the fucking whatever. Um, Joe Franklin had the best joke of the night when they were finally getting full swing.
Hmm.
He said, Professor Irwin Corey is so old that he remembers when the Dead Sea was just sick.
Dang. Oh no.
That's legit. That's legit.
That's legit.
That's legit.
And there, and the wild thing is, my man Joe, he left with some woman, and then we didn't see him again for the rest of the night.
Wow.
Rest in peace to both of those gentlemen, because of course they're no longer. Neither of them is with us anymore.
Hmm.
Right. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Well, anyway, that ended story time.
Wow.
That we're gonna call that the end of this particular episode of Beef Wine and Shenanigans. We were so happy to be doing an episode after a little break here. We didn't even really introduce ourselves. But anyway, I do want to thank my co-hosts, Mark Abbott, Denise Tapscott, Kirk Johnson, and of course I am the Black high school principal, Stephen Van Patten.
You're like a group of supervillains from the Venture Brothers.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Right? Steve Irwin, Jeff Goldblum, overweight, Eisenberg, right? The principal.
Crocodile Hunter.
Right? And the Crocodile Hunter. They are the unexplainables.
The unexplainables.
Crazy.
Who you guys here to kill?
Right. Oh my God. One last detail and then we're done. So turns out the woman whose funeral we went to, Mickey Spillane's widow.
Oof.
Not the writer Mickey Spillane, the Hell's Kitchen gangster.
Oh, wow.
I have the prayer card around here somewhere.
Wow.
Yes. That's who that turned out to be.
Holy moly.
Go.
It's probably good you did kneel then.
That's a full story right there.
Yes.
Your little group right there were called the Unexplainables.
The Unexplainables.
Because you were breaking legs for the bookies. when the John ain't want to give that money up. You don't want me to have to get the Unexplainables to come collect my money, do you? Who's this coming down the street? Right. Why is Steve Irwin coming down the street with the fat Jeff Goldblum and Eisenberg? And is that a principal?
It doesn't make any sense.
Like a vampire principal? It doesn't make any sense.
Can you explain it?
Right.
Nobody can explain it. That's why we're the Unexplainables.
Unexplainables.
With the Unexplainable. The Chevy Impala.
Oh gosh.
71 Chevy Impala.
Right. I know a guy.
In there. Yeah. Right.
I know a guy that knows a guy.
That knows a guy. That's awesome.
Anyway,
that's awesome.
We thank you all for listening to all this madness. Because that's what we do here at Beef Wine and Shenanigans. We do madness.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, we love you. We mean it. Be good to each other because, we still got a whole clown show for a government right now. Yeah. And we're going to need each other to get each other through this.
Yeah.
So, much love. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah.
Hope